There was this neighbour that always seemed to be listening to James Brown and Motown, so even though he seemed a bit off, I thought, how could he be that weird if he's chilling to some old school music? I'd hear him blast his music and have louder conversations, but then again, we both had studio apartments that were touching, so I just would play music to not hear his so loudly. One night, he was drinking a lot and had his GF around. You could hear him being belligerent, but nothing that seemed out of the ordinary for him, I suppose. It wasn't too late, so I headed out for the night with some friends while my BF at the time stayed in. I got dropped off around 1 AM or so, and as we were driving into the parking lot from afar, we see my neighbour outside in between cars and the apartment looking sorta odd. Okay, weird. Whatever this guy is, kinda just creepy anyways. At that point, my friends were more weirded out than I was, but I didn't think much of it and had them drop me off near the entrance because it was easier for them to leave. That was until they drove away, and I walked up to go into my apt, which I had to pass his first. I swear my heart dropped because he was standing still by then with his body hidden by the bush that is between our apartments, like the funny Homer Simpson meme, but actually not funny whatsoever, because as I approached, it seemed like he thought maybe I didn't see him because it was so dark out and he was still a statue. I waved and mumbled hi because I freaking see you, and I'm not going to pretend that I don't at this point, so don't even try anything since no one was out on a weekday at this hour. At that point, after acknowledging he was there, he stepped out of the side of the bush and came into the dim porch light, and never in my life have I looked into eyes like that. My heart is racing as I type this. They were widened, dark, fully dilated, just like a wild animal, almost lunatic if I were to express his energy as well. He didn't say anything but give me a bone-chilling look, and I ran into my apartment immediately. My BF was drowsy since it was late, but he did say neighbours' music was loud and continued for some time, and he heard a ton of noise and arguing earlier, but didn't think anything of it. That night, all night we heard thumps, and it also sounded like furniture was moving. Now, it just weirded me out knowing he was awake in the state I viewed him in, which seemed almost primal. The next morning, I heard the cops outside banging on his door and was partially relieved to see them, but then super scared of why they were there in the first place. They took him away in handcuffs shortly after demanding to be let in and asked me when was the last time I had talked or seen him, and I told him about that night, the arguing, noises, a frightening encounter and thumping all night. What I found out during the next day will make my stomach turn forever. I was told this from the groundskeeper, details I will keep simple since it was horrendous. That Motown James Brown listening neighbour brutally murdered his GF that night, dismembered parts of her and dragged the rest of her body near the train tracks, which was directly behind our apartments. It hit me that the cold, primal and wide-eyed look I had seen in that man was that of a person who just took another human being's life in such a vicious, disgusting way. I felt so sad for this woman who did not deserve to go like that. She was always quiet, sweet, and seemed a bit down on her luck, usually asking for cigarettes when I encountered her. To this day, my stomach turns, thinking about how close I was to death, quite literally, and how he could have ambushed me out of insanity, since he was just waiting in the darkness when I walked up. I am living at the edge of a smaller city with just a few neighbors. All of them are all right, except one of them, namely the one who lives directly in front of our house. It's a very old and dilapidated house, which is why I always had an antipathy towards the house as a child. The lamps outside are broken, the balcony seems unstable, and it looks like no one is living in it. The man who lives in the house is very old and grumpy. When me and my sister were young, he always yelled at us if we came too close to his house or garden. A very unfriendly man that everyone of my family tries to avoid. He is not only unfriendly but also extremely creepy. From my room I have a look at his house, also into his attic. It looks like there are weird equipment standing there, but my mother always said it would be just an old laundering network. It's hard to really see what it is. Another creepy thing is that it seems like he only lives in his cellar, because the lights are only burning there, can be seen from the side view of his house. My dad used to make jokes about him hiding creepy experiments down there, but after what happened, I don't think it's funny anymore. I also have to add that with the time he got very old, so his son comes visiting him every day to help him with his household. So here's to what happened. I was at a friend's house and came home with the car. It was around 2 a.m. I parked the car and then I saw my neighbor coming out of his house, having a flashlight and a knife in his hand. I was afraid that he would have seen me coming home and coming towards my car, although he would not have been a threat to me due to his age. He did not came to me. He did not even heard or saw me. He searched something with the flashlight in his garden, wandering through the bushes. I was too scared to get out of the car and letting him see me, because he had this strange look on his face. He was definitely not sleepwalking. He seemed pretty scared himself, although I could not see him perfectly because it was very dark. I thought maybe he just heard animals outside and could not get sleep, but why would he take a knife with him? I was freaking out in the car, and then I saw him running, more like walking fast, to his front door and getting inside as if he had seen or did something very scary. I waited some minutes longer until I got out of the car to get inside my house, always watching my back. Somehow I felt watched. Not sure if it was just because I was scared by the situation and imagining that, or if it was real. I lay down the whole night thinking what just happened until I fell asleep. The next morning, I told my sister what happened, and she said she heard some strange noises last night. But earlier than 2 a.m., we decided that our neighbor was just chasing an animal at night, and that reassured me. And now, it's where it gets super weird. The evening his son came, as usually, I saw his car parking on the street. Some minutes later, when I was going to take out the trash, I saw 2 police cars parking in our street next to my neighbor's house. His son was talking with the officers. He must have died the same night that I came home with the car and saw him outside. I don't know what the hell happened to him and how he died, but it totally freaks me out. I then also told my parents what happened, but they say he probably just died because of his age and that he was confused when he was outside, but he really did not look confused. He looked like he saw something very evil, and the way he ran back to the door is always repeating in my mind. There must be a connection, but it's still not enough. The whole thing happened 5 days ago now, and last night I heard the stange noises. My sister and my neighbour heard too. It's like a slow, deep crunch. I can't describe it, nor connect it with any animal living here. The noise comes from my neighbour's house. I turned on my light to see if I could have a look from my window to the animal or thing the noises came from. I saw nothing, but I felt again like somebody was watching me and looking me directly into the eyes. And I could have sworn that I saw something moving in the attic of my dead neighbour's house. Something big and human-like. Guys, I am freaking out. I can't sleep at night, afraid to hear this noise again or feeling watched. What could that animal be? Is it even an animal, or is it like an evil spirit? Has it killed my neighbour? Has there been a reason why my neighbour lived in his cellar and never went into his attic where I saw something moving? Why did my neighbour look so scared? They didn't appear right away. For the first 6 months after we moved into this old Stalin-era apartment building on the edge of the city, the apartment directly above us was empty. The realtor said it belonged to an elderly couple, but they had gone to live with their children in the suburbs and had no plans to return. That suited us fine. We wanted quiet. Quiet is a rare luxury in an old house with brick walls a metre thick. In such buildings, you can't hear the neighbours to your left or right. But there's one law of physics you can't fool. Sound travels from bottom to top and top to bottom through the ventilation shafts and plumbing pipes. The first sign was a smell. Sometime in November, when they turned on the heating, I started noticing a heavy, cloying, slightly sweet odour in the kitchen. At first, I blamed the garbage chute, then maybe rats dying in the walls. But the smell was strange. It wasn't the direct stench of decay. It smelled domestic. Like someone was boiling very cheap bones that had already started to turn, but had heavily seasoned the broth with bay leaves and onion skins to mask it. My husband didn't notice a thing. He said I was imagining it. Then, at the end of November, I heard the footsteps for the first time, precisely at 3:15 inches the morning. At first, I thought it was just the house settling or pipes groaning, but it was footsteps, slow, shuffling, from the door to the room, then into the kitchen, then back. This went on for about 40 minutes, then stopped abruptly. "Someone's up there," I told my husband in the morning. "The realtor lied. He waved it off. Maybe they rented it out. Could be students." But students don't walk like that. Old people walk like that. The ones who can barely drag their feet. The next evening, I decided to check. I went up to the floor above. The door was old, upholstered in faux leather, with the number 27 made from rusty metal digits. I pressed my ear against the faux leather. Silence. Not a sound. No TV, no voices, not even a creaking floorboard. Absolute, muffled silence. I knocked. No one answered. I listened again, and then, very close, from the other side of the door, I heard that same sound. Shuff, one step, and then another. Someone had walked up to the door and stopped right opposite me. I saw a shadow fall into the gap between the frame and the door. It blocked the strip of light from the stairwell window. I flinched and ran back downstairs. I convinced myself I had imagined it, that there was just a very old, possibly sick person living there who didn't want to talk to anyone. The footsteps became constant every night at 3:15 a.m. Sometimes, along with the shuffling, there was a sound like someone dragging a heavy wooden chair across the floor. And one night, I heard coughing, a hollow, wet, elderly cough that seemed to come from directly above me as I lay in bed. My husband slept like a log. I went upstairs again, this time during the day, in the light. The door to apartment 27 was slightly ajar, just about 5 centimeters. The gap was as black as an abyss. "Hello," my voice sounded unnaturally loud. "I'm your neighbor from downstairs. Is everything all right?" Silence. I pushed the door. It gave way. The hallway was dark, and the stench I'd noticed in my own kitchen was here, 100 times stronger. My eyes adjusted to the gloom. I saw a long corridor, at the end of which a dim light was on, probably from the kitchen. The floor was littered with rags and old newspapers. I took a step inside. My heart was pounding in my throat. Anyone home? At that moment, a sound came from the kitchen, a measured, rhythmic thumping, like someone was chopping meat with a dull knife, sawing through fibers with effort, and simultaneously with it the shuffling, the same sound from the night. I moved toward the noise. In the smoky, filthy kitchen by the window stood an old woman. She wore a black dress with sparse grey hair pulled back in a bun. She had her back to me, focused intently on cutting something on a wooden board placed directly on the windowsill. "Excuse me," I whispered. She slowly, with an audible crackle of neck vertebrae, turned her head. Her face was in shadow, but I caught the glint of her eyes. She was looking right at me. "Who are you?" Her voice was dry as rustling paper. "I'm from downstairs. You walk at night. I can't sleep." She smiled. It was a terrifying smile, toothless, dark. "Oh, it's not me walking," she mumbled. "It's my neighbor walking." I was stunned. "What neighbor? You're on the top floor. There's no one above you. Go on, go into the room." She waved a hand toward the dark corridor. "Go see the neighbor. He's been living here a long time. Used to live above me, now he lives with me." I stepped back. I was petrified. But my feet carried me not toward the exit, but toward the room she pointed at. The door was wide open. On the bed, covered in dirty sheets, lay a corpse. A man, about 60, in blue pajamas. He lay on his back, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. He was dead. A long time dead. A very long time. I screamed. The sound got stuck in my throat, coming out as a wheeze. I flew out of the room, rushed past the old woman still standing by the window with her knife, and burst out onto the stairs. The police arrived an hour later. The old woman turned out to be the owner. The corpse in the room was her husband. He had died 6 months earlier, right around the time we moved in. She had been living with him all this time, feeding him, talking to him, and at night, she believed, he would get up and walk. She genuinely thought he was alive. The investigators questioned her, and she looked at me with that black smile. As they led her away, she leaned in, touching my hand with her cold, dry fingers, and whispered in my ear, "Don't you be afraid. He'll come to you now. Your neighbours after all. It's convenient for him through the ventilation, straight down into your bedroom. I heard him go down to you the very first night. Don't be afraid, dear. You'll get used to it." That was 3 years ago. We moved out within a week, but I still wake up at exactly 3:15 every night, and I hear someone walking behind the wall, or above me, or right inside my head, waiting for me to get used to it.